Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Reconstructing Cave Story. In this episode we're going to be solving the problem of not being able to jump between two vertical tiles easily. So I'll just show you what this problem looks like, and it's these two vertical tiles right here, and if I just try to jump in here it's actually pretty difficult and you have to tap very lightly, but in the actual game it should be pretty easy to jump in between the two vertical tiles. So we're going to add an extra bit of detail to our collision rectangle. Right now we just have a single Y collision rectangle, which does get split into a top and bottom collision rectangle, but they're the same width. Well, now we need to make another collision rectangle and make the top one wider than the bottom one. So I'll show you, this is how we have it now. This is what it looks like, just a single collision rectangle split into two rectangles later. But this is how we want to have it, and it's just adding this extra top rectangle and then having this bottom rectangle be separate. And so this top rectangle will just be wider and not quite as wide as our X collision rectangle because we don't need it to be. But yeah, that's all we're going to do in this episode. It's going to be kind of a short episode, but maybe we need that after the last three-parter. So let's get started. So let's go into our player CC class, and all of the changes we're going to make are just going to be in here, I think, unless I decide to make some other change. So I'm going to get rid of this K collision Y rectangle and just make a bunch of units of game constants. We'll start with, well, let me get that back first of all so we can look at that. So let's start with K collision Y top, and this is going to be equal to 2 from right here. Height is going to be 30 from right here. And then our width is going to be varied based on whether it's the top or bottom rectangle. So let's make a couple of widths. So const units of game K collision Y, K collision top width, and that's going to be equal to 18 is what I figured out. And we'll have another one for bottom, which will be our usual 10. So this will be K collision bottom width equals 10. And then finally we need to have a left and for both our top and bottom rectangles, and we can just calculate that based on where the center would be, or centering it based on how we would center it. So I'm going to do a little calculation. K collision top left, and that's going to be equal to half of our tile width minus our top width. So tile to game, so that's one tile width minus our top width, and then divide that whole thing by 2. So another parenthesis over here. And it's going to be the same thing for bottom, except, bottom instead of top. Okay, so now we can go through and use these constants instead of our K collision Y constant rectangle we were using before. And if I build it, maybe it'll tell me where I need to look. No, it's not that nice. So let's just search for it, K collision Y. Okay, so this should change from top to top like that. Height changes to height. Left changes to top left because we're in top collision right here. So top left. Top changes to top. Oops, this should be K collision top left, not K collision Y top left. K collision Y top width. K collision Y height. This will be bottom left. This will be Y top, Y height. Bottom width. And Y height. Oops, no parentheses up here. Here, okay, so we have K collision Y bottom, and this is really just the same thing as K collision Y top plus height. Or we could just make another constant for it, and I think I'll do that instead. No, I won't. Top plus K collision Y height. Y height. Y height. And this bottom thing again. And I think that's it. So let's see how this looks. Hopefully it built correctly. Yep, and there we go. He just pops right in there and it's super easy to get in there. So let's make sure everything else is still colliding correctly. Let's look at the bottom. That looks good to me. I'm going to rerun it and check collisions with the bat just to make sure that it's... Let's try. This should give us a collision. Yep, it does. I'm happy with that. So that's it for this episode. Yeah, it's kind of a short episode, but suck it, I guess. Thanks for watching. Happy developing.